Hi, Abe.
Hello, how are you?
Evening. Okay, Kuf Yud Ches. When you
Yep.
what Roid Amalach Kiksi Vayashar, when it says Ish Kol Yashar Beinav will offer Beinav Udichsiv, we're talking about you can build a private bama wherever the person thinks it's Beinav Yashar Beinav, but not to exclude Aval Bama Gdola Filachav is Namali Kari. Because remember, we cited an opinion that they were not allowed to offer individual chovos like chatas is an ashram in the Bama Gdola, but not according to Rabbi Yehuda. Freitimor lal haksiv ish lav lemema the ish isharus the likrid. That means he's only supposed to bring donative korbanos and hachavos loy likrid. That you might think that a Kohen would have to be mark of the korbanos of the Bama. That no, even a non-Kohen can do that. That's learned from a different pasuk. Now to say more, liboy kiddush b'choros k'miyikara. You have to be miskadesh the b'choros before they could work at the bama. Kamashman that no, anyone could offer a korban at the bama. He didn't have to. He didn't have to be miskadesh like the b'choros were in the middle. Now the Gemara says chachami manu tanakama. The chachami who argued with Rav Yehuda is the same thing as the Tanakama. I'm Rav Papa. Korban nesachim b'midbar binayu. The machlokas is whether wine libations were brought in the midbar or not. According to one Tana they were, according to the other Tana they weren't. Amar Reb Shimon Oimer, that even in the Mishkan in Gilgal, no chovos were brought except the Korban Pesach, and those chovos that are signed to a specific day, the Olas HaTami, the Olas on Shabbos, the Olas on Yontif, but other chovos like Chatas and Osham, according to Reb Shimon, they would not be brought for 14 years until they came to Shiloh. You have to keep track and then bring them all then. My time at Reb Shimon. T'chsi. Vayasuv ne Yisrael es HaPesach b'Gilgal. Well, Pshita, I mean, of course they had to do the Pesach. Where else are they going to do it? El HaKamashman the Choyvos ke'ein Pesach u'dekorev. You know what? Kind of obligatory korbanos were offered, the ones that were like a Korban Pesach. What's unique about the Korban Pesach? It's got a specific date. You have to bring it, Yud Daled Nisan. Those you could bring. Halav ke'en Pesach, lo korev. But for example, a chatas and an osham, which are not tied to a date, you didn't bring them even at the Bama in Gilgal. I v'idich, the other mandoma that says you could bring a chatas and osham there. This pasuk is used for the halach of Rav Yechon. Dam Rav Yechon mishum Rav Bano. Orel mekabel azah, that for paraduma to lift somebody's tumah, you might think that an orel you can't sprinkle it on an orel. Kamashmalan that you can't. Tani Tamakan Ravada Barava. Ein bein ba migdol ba miktana ela pesach v'choyves hakavulam zman. The Bama Gdoila in Gilgal, you could bring the Pesach and other obligatory korbanos that were fixed to a date, and those could not be brought in a Bama Ketana. Everything else could be brought. Amar lei to target masnisach ba'oilas choiva. You're talking about the choivas, like the oilas atamid. But for example, the ikka oilas nadova, there are oilas that you can donate, which are not fixed to time. That you could bring in a private bomb. The chatas nadova miika. Chatas cannot be considered a nadova. It has to be. It's obligatory if you committed that aveir. Maybe it's a minchas choiva that the Bryce is talking about. Every day the Kohen Gadol to bring the minchas chavit. In Ksovar, ein mincha b'bama. It's not a nafkamina between the bama gdol and the bama ktana because there were no minchas at all brought in a bama. Okay. Ba'u l'shilo, the Mishnah told us that there was no roof. There was a house, but there were yerios as the roof, not a roof. Menonimit. How do you know this? Chana brought Shmuel to work with Eli Cohen. She brought him to the Beis Hashem Shiloh. It's a bias. Because of Echad, Vayitosh Mishkan Shiloh, Oel Shikin Ba'ada. It sounds like it's an Oel, not a bias. Uksi Vayimas Ba'ol Yosef V'Shevet Ephraim Lo V'achar. How can you reconcile a bias and an Oel? Haketzad. Lo Hashem Tikra. There was no roof. Elavoni Milmatan, stone walls. The Yerios Milmalan. And the Yerios were on the top. V'yaisa menucha. And Mishkan Shiloh, when it says elam nucha v'lanachla, we're talking about Shiloh when it says menucha. Then we said, in contradistinction to Yerushalayim, in Yerushalayim, Kotshim Kalim and Meiser Sheni had to be eaten within the walls of Yerushalayim. You could not eat it outside of Yerushalayim. In Shiloh, Kodshe Kodshim had to be eaten in the Azara, within the curtains, which is similar to the Beis Hamikdash. However, there was a leniency by Mishkan Shiloh that Meiser Sheni in your Kodshim Kalim like a Shlomim could be eaten anywhere if you could see Mishkan. You might have been 20 miles away, but if you had a good view of Mishkan Shiloh, you could eat it anywhere you could see it. Menonimili. Amar Avishad Amar Kra, Hishamar L'cha Pentala Oloisecha, B'chol Mokom Asher Tire. B'chol Mokom Asher Tire Iyatamala. You can't offer up through Shchita or through Halon Mizbeach. That has to be done in the Mishkan itself. Avalata Oicha B'chol Mokom Shataroya. But you can eat korbanos anytime that you could see Mishkan Shiloh. Freit Gemara Ema b'chol makom shataroya iyatamale avalata zovech b'chol makom shatir. Maybe you can't offer up on a mizbeach if you can see Shiloh, but maybe you could shecht anywhere you could see. Amar Rav Yoni Amar Kra sham ta'aleh v'sham ta'aseh. There in the Mishkan, the aliyah on the mizbeach and the shechita is the same thing. Just as if the havah has to be in the azar and the mizbeach, you have to do shechita there as well. Rav Avdimi bar Chasa Omar Kra v'lo sanas Shiloh. Tana is like sighing. Anyone who passes by after Shiloh was destroyed, they would sigh. Because this was a unique heter to be able to eat your kotchim wherever you could see. And they would sigh as they would walk by. Amar ben paras Yosef ben paras ale oyin. It's a medrash. Ayin shelo rotzes alozun v'lehenos midavar she'en shalom. The eye that did not want to benefit from Ashes Potiphar because she didn't belong to him. Tizke v'toichal kamole eineha. So the Mishkan Shiloh, which was built on the nachla of his children in the children of Yosef and Ephraim, he had a special exclusive. You could eat wherever you could see. Rav Yosef Rechanina Omar Uritzon Shochni Sneh. One of the brachas in Zos HaBracha to Yosef. Ayin Shlo Rotzos Leanos Midover Shein Shalo. Tiske V'Soichal Ben Asnuim. Mishkan Shiloh is built among all the Shvatim around it. They all hated him. So again, it connects the ayin that didn't benefit from that which didn't belong to him to eating among the tribes that didn't like him. Tana. Roesh Amru, this, anytime you could see Shiloh, Kol Sharov Ein Dover Mafsik. There can't be something in between where he's standing and Shiloh. There was a shul called the Bnei Knisha de Ma'on. There they had a view of Shiloh without any obstruction. Amrav Papa. You don't have to see all of Mishkan Shiloh, just part of it. And we have some theoretical questions. Boy Rav Papa. Oy made Veroya. When you stand, you can see it. When you sit, you can't see it. Does that qualify? Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah. If you stand on, let's say there's like a canyon, and you stand on top of it and you can see it, and then b'tocha nachal ein roa. Teku. So these are not answered. The Shekhinah rested on Klal Yisrael 3 places: Shiloh, No V'Givon, Ubeis Olon, Uvekulan Lo Shar Sel B'Chelik Binyamin. This is taking issue with the Gemara's statement that Mishkan Shiloh was in the territory of Yosef. Here, the Brisa says that all of these Mekomas HaKadoshim were in the territory of Binyamin. Shenamar Chofef Alav Kol Hayom. Hashem hovers over Binyamin. The Shekhinah is there. Kol Chafifos Lo Ya'el B'Chelko Shel Binyamin. Binyamin is Yedid Hashem. I would say simply, Binyamin is the only person that was not involved in Mechiras Yosef. And perhaps that is why that's where the Shekhinah hangs out. Kiyazal Abaya, Amar Kamei Rav Yosef. Abaya repeated this to Rav Yosef. Amar Chad Brahavalel Chaylil. Chaylil was the father of Abaya, who died before Abaya was born. He only had one son. So there's only one son to Chaylil, v'lo mitaken, but he doesn't say correct things. V'haksi v'yitoshes mishkan Shiloh, uksi v'yimas ba'ol Yosef v'shevet Ephraim lo bochar. That clearly states that Mishkan Shiloh was in Ephraim's territory and not Binyamin. Amar Vada Maika Kashale, Dilma Shechina b'chelik Binyamin, v'sanedri g'dola b'chelik Yosef. So just like we have in the Beis Hamikdash, the Sanhedrin was in Chelik Yehuda, because there's the rest of the Beis Hamikdash was in Chelik Binyamin Yerushalayim. So too, they shared it. There was a Chelik of Yosef, and the Sanhedrin was there, and the rest of Shiloh was in Binyamin. The same format in the Beis Hamikdash. The Shechina b'chelko shel Binyamin, v'sanei b'chelik Yehuda. Amar le'achi Asher, I can compare it. Asam mikar v'nachlos kabiyadad. Yehuda and Binyamin were right next to each other. They're nachlos. So you could see how it happened. Hachami mikarvin. Shiloh was not near Binyamin. Hachanami mikarvin. They were. There was a strip of land that came out of Yehuda's territory. Went into the chelik of Binyamin. The part of the Mizbech was in the chelik of Yehuda. Why Binyamin had tzadik mitzvah levala? Binyamin always wanted to take it over. Achanami ritzu Isa Yoitzeis Mechelko Shel Yosef. There was a strip that came out of Chelko Shel Yosef. Chelko Shel Binyamin. That's what we're talking about here. Kitanoi. Chayfeif alav kol hayom ze migdash rishon. Kol hayom ze migdash sheni. Uvein kseivav shachein eli mosu Mashiach. Rabbi Yomer chayfeif alav ze olam hazeh. Kol hayom eli mosu Mashiach. Uvein kseivav shachein ze olam haba. Torah Rabban. Yimei oil moitzer b'midbar boim shon chasarachas. The Mishkan lasted for 39 years in the desert. Yimei oil moitzer b'gigol arba'asrei. The oil moed in Bigol was there for 14 years. Zayin shekivshu v'zayin shechilku. They conquered for 7, and then they divided for 7. Yimei oil moitzer b'Novi Givon chamishim v'sheva 57 years. Nishtayru l'shilo gimel me'os v'shivim chasrachas. We know that the Beis HaMikdash was built 440 years after the Jewish people crossed the Jordan River. So if you subtract, the 14 and the 57, you get 369. And you can also subtract the third because it's 480 years since they left Mitzrayim. Yimei al moed shebimidbar b'm chasrachas. How do we know minol? Dam Ramar. Shana Rishona so Moshe Samishkan. Rashi tells us in Chumash that Moshe Rabbeinu got the second luchos on Yom Kippur. The next day, he was given the tzivu of Vayichu Truma. So they started collecting and building the Mishkan. But it was only erected, Shniya Hukam Mishkan, only in the Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the second year, they erected it. And in the same year, Shalach Moshe Meraglim. At that point, they had to be there that total of 40 years. So the Mishkan stood for 39 years. Shebegigal Arba'asrei. Sheva Shekivshu v'Sheva Shechilku. They conquered for 7, they divided for 7. Minola. To Ka'amar Kalev, we learned this in Yoshua. Ben Arba'im Shana Nochi Bishloch Moshe Eved Hashem Osim Mekadesh B'nei L'Regel Saretz. Kalev says, I was 40 years old when Moshe sent me with the Meraglim. V'ashevo so davar kashem levavi. And I came back with a good report. Uksiv ata, this pasuk is after the 7 years of division. V'ata yinei anochi hayom ben 5 u'shmonim shana. Ki avili yardin bar kama havi. How old was Kalev when he crossed the Jordan? Bar shivim v'tamnei. 40 plus 38, because they were in the desert another 38 years. And now he's 85, Kamer ben Chamesh Shanim. So Harei Sheva Shekivshu. And V'Sheva Shechilku. How do you know Sheva Shechilku? Iboy Seima, Mida Sheva Shekivshu, Sheva Naman Shekilku. It's just symmetrical. Iboy Seima, Mida Lo Mishkachas Lo Ba'arbes Reishana Acharas Asher Huksa Hir. That Yechezkel tells us that there was 14 years after the city, after Yerushalayim fell, there was a Yovel. So yeah, you calculate the Beis HaMikdash stood for 410 years, and it was built after 440 years. It's 850. 850 it gives you 17 Yovelos, but it wasn't. It was destroyed, Chazal tells, 14 years before. So that period was 14. You have to minus 7 shekivshu, you have 7 shechilku. All much of another given chamishim sheva. T'chsiv. Vayi bazkiras Aron Elohim. When they told Eli HaKoyen, that the Plishtim took the Aron captive, he fell out of his chair and he broke his neck. V'tana at that time, Shiloh was destroyed. Ubolano. And then they brought the Mizbeach to know. The Aron was taken captive by the Plishtim. So you're talking about the Mishkan with the Mizbeach. And Kishemei Shmuel Ramasi, 13 years later, Charvanov, Nov was destroyed by Shaul. Ubal Givon and was moved to Givon. And it happened. So it's 13 plus 44 years in Givon, a total of 57. Uksiv Vayimiyon Shevet Saron Bekiryas Yoarim. The Vayibu Ayomim Vayu Esrim, it was 20 years in Kiryas Yoarim. By now, Kol Beit Yisrael Achrei Hashem, Hani Esrim Shana, Eser Shana Shamalach Shmuel Ba'atzmo, Shana Shamalach Shmuel V'Shaul. They ruled jointly. It's 13 years. And Sheva the David. David ruled in Hebron for 7 years. 13 plus 7 is 20. Then David moved it. So for 37 years, it was near David, the Aura. So we've tracked the path of the Mishkan and tracked the path of the Aura. Okay. Very good. We will learn tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
Okay, Ernie.
Yeah, Marvin's coming. He told me at 7 o'clock.
No, 1:45, 7:45, 6:45.
Okay. You're not wearing a tie, right?
No, I'm just wearing
Okay.
a shirt. Sport shirt with a jacket, that's all.
Are you wearing a regular?
Okay, I'll see you.
Are you wearing a regular shirt?
A regular shirt, what do you mean?
Okay.
Shirt.
Okay. Good night.